Hello Blue Jays and welcome to The Rant. This show highlights activities, students, staff, and organizations at Bondurant for our high school. On this episode, we bring you jaywalking, highlights from boys soccer, and track and field. But first, Addie Gross tells us about Rock the Vote.
March 30th, the school held a Rock the Vote event. This is an event that's purpose is to get high schoolers registered to vote. The auditorium was double booked, cutting the event short. So if you're confused, this is what you need to know. First, get one of the Iowa High School voter registration sheets from one of the social studies teachers. Pull out your phone and scan the sheet with your camera. Click the banner that pops up and scroll down. If you click the online registration box, it takes you to an online questionnaire that you fill out. If you would like to fill it out on paper, you can go back to the main page and click on the box that says Download a Voter Registration Form. This takes you straight to a printable sheet that you fill out. Bondurant's Rock the Vote event was organized by Mr. Duffy and the other social studies teachers. I talked to him to get his thoughts on why voting is so important.
Okay, hey, we're here to talk about the high school voter registration day that we had, and we want to talk a little bit why it was important. Pretty simple. Voting is a great way to express what you believe. And it's not necessarily just about voting for a candidate, but often the local issues can be affected if you vote. So if you're 18, 19, 20 years old and you're unhappy with something, if you vote local, you have a lot better chance of having your voice heard because there's fewer people being represented. The second thing we wanted to get across was find an issue that you're passionate about. Prison reform, education, juvenile crime, LGBT rights, whatever it is, it's something that you need to take in your life and run with. So there are two things we wanted to get. Register to vote so that it can be affected locally, and two, get an issue you're passionate about and volunteer some time. That was the point. Thanks.
If you're interested in registering to vote, you can contact any of the social studies teachers here at the high school. This has been Addison Gross reporting for The Rant.
Boys soccer dominated Carroll this week. Aiden Frost has more.
On Monday, April 5th, the boys soccer team demolished the Carroll Tigers. Right off the bat, Oscar White scored after stealing the ball from Carroll. Zach Klein then proceeded to make a semi-long distance goal. He made two more goals just after his second, securing the Blue Jays' strong lead. Five minutes before halftime, Oscar White made his second goal of the game, which put the team at 5-0. As the second half started, Titus Cram scored for Blue Jay points. Oscar White scored a penalty kick 2 minutes later, furthering the Jays' already winning score. Devin Reinhardt scored a goal after juking out a Carroll defender. Cole Nicholson was the last to score that night, putting the ending score at 9-0.
This win put the Jays' game record at 2-0 and Carroll's at 1-1. This has been Aiden Frost reporting for The Rant.
Last week, BFHS hosted a co-ed track and field meet. Will Wilson was on hand.
On Monday, March 29th, our school held our first co-ed home track meet. The girls' track team was able to win with multiple great finishes. Carolyn Miller was able to throw her way to victory in discus, throwing a distance of 98 feet. Our girls' shuttle team of Faith Carlson, Riley Gilroy, Alexis Crook, and Kendall Anderson were the first team across the finish line, bringing home a win for the Jays. Along with the shuttle hurdle team, the 4-1 and 4-2 teams were able to finish first to help secure the win. The girls placed well in most of the events, leading to their first meet victory of the season. With 7 teams in the track meet, the boys came in third. The boys' team came just short, but still had a few top finishes. Our long jumpers performed well, with Titus Cram and Lane Wilson finishing first and second. Cameron Mislin also finished first in shot put. Trenton Silvers placed second in the 400-meter hurdles, earning some points for Bondurant. The track teams finished pretty well in their first home co-ed track meet. They will be on the road for the next few meets. This has been Will Wilson reporting for The Rant.
Ethan William hits the halls searching for memorable work stories in the latest installment of Jaywalking.
All right, Kaylin, what's the funniest story from your work?
One day during the summer, there was this guy and he was like walking outside in the cameras, and so I took a gander, and he was out there with like this rope around his waist, half naked, like dragging a tire like 6 feet behind him, just walking around for like half an hour.
So Maddie, what's the funniest story from your work?
I was on the ladder reaching to the top shelf for jeans and I fell off and everyone laughed at me.
What's the funniest story from work?
One of the funniest stories from when I worked at a daycare was probably when a child tried to shove an entire toy car in his mouth and then proceeded to projectile vomit on a lot of other children in the room. And then we all had to evacuate for the rest of the day.
What's your funny story from work?
One time a cook got a tip because they were singing and they got dinner in a show.
What's a funny story from your work?
Well, there was a time when I was working, just having a casual day at work, and this lady came up and she wanted to do a return and she didn't have a receipt, and so we can't do it because it's a rule. Unless you have your receipt, we can't put it back on your card, and she wanted it back on her card. And then I couldn't do it, and so she started swearing at me, and I got my manager, and then she started swearing at my manager, and my manager started swearing back at her. And it was a whole thing, and it was really bad. But she just left, and she never came back.
Thanks for watching. We'll be back soon with more highlights from Bondurant for our high school. You can watch this show anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel at bluejaydigital.org. See ya!